Hello everyone, Angelo here, Hollywood filmmaker. I have been writing a lot lately, doing lots and lots of screenwriting for a class I have from Corey Mandel. And I found him from his interviews on Film Courage. He's done other ones online. Anyways, today is the last day of class. It's incredible to think, how much my understanding of writing has changed in the last, 8 weeks, I guess. I think it was an 8-week class. I'm going to continue to do the exercises he teaches every day. It's just simple stuff for, writing clear conflict and writing conflict, that gets higher and higher stakes and making sure the stakes are targeted at the characters. Stuff I always either was aware of or often understood, and then some stuff I never thought about. Like, he talks a lot about intuitive writing and being able to write like almost like a dreamlike manner. And by the way, so we've been doing these exercises and I've been pushing myself at them, and I find myself wanting to stop when I start judging and thinking, oh, this is not going to be good, I can't write this. Well, that's the judgment getting into it and stopping me. So it's like I have to push through that pain barrier, which is what I guess this video is about. And I realized about 2 weeks into doing these exercises, I'm like, wait a minute, Alex Proyas, one of my favorite directors, he directed Dark City, one of my favorite films, and Knowing, one of my favorite films, and Gods of Egypt, which I think is really great too. Really great, actually. He put up a video like 2 years ago talking about doing like dream writing, where it's like you don't even go back and correct spelling, you don't look back at anything. And the next time you write, like he was writing Dark City this way. He just kept writing and he didn't look back at what he had. And, he rewrote it with time. And so it wasn't the same as, what he wrote like that. You wouldn't necessarily show that to someone. Maybe you would, but it's just something you will use for later. And he said he would go back to it and then reassess it and figure out, what he could use for a story. So that's what I've been doing, and it's funny. Each time I catch myself being like, well, now that I pushed myself this far, if I do any more, it's going to be bad. It's just going to be mush. Like, I'm trying to think of good ideas, and I'm like, oh, that's the problem. I have to relax those muscles, sort of disengage that lock, almost like on a train car, where you let that train car just go back. The one, that I don't want, I hate it's getting too prescient and too precious. Not prescient, precious, that metaphor of like, oh, bye-bye to that train. No, it's just like a lock, like it's too tense and you need to loosen that muscle, where I'm like, oh, even if I write something bad, I should want to write it bad. This has got to be the worst thing, and not judging it as the worst thing, but just understanding it's not my place to judge it. I'll just write whatever, even if it's not making sense or convoluted or, dull or boring, whatever. Or just doing all kinds of weird stuff. Because pushing through that pain barrier, what I often notice is once I get past that certain point, then something else happens in my story, I discover something else which happens in my story that just I didn't expect. And again, you're not supposed to judge it, because then you're judging. So even judging something as good is judging. So I try not to do that, because it's easy to do that. Everybody can do that. I don't want to be like the writers who do the easy stuff. Leave that to them who want to do the easy stuff. I'll do it the hard way, but the hard way in this case being like having a very light touch with the material. And so that's what I've been pushing myself to do. And even last night, pushing myself to write till like 11 o'clock, because I was kind of delaying with some stuff. I forget what I was doing last night, but so I try and write for like 2 hours every day, and still getting up. I woke up at 3:45 with my alarm, but I slept in for like another hour till like 4:45. And also I was just feeling really low. I was feeling depressed over, just my situation in general, even though I got no problems. I realized that's my problem, is I got no problems. So I got to keep pushing. And I was feeling low about feeling like, oh, I don't fit in among people here. I just don't want to talk to anybody. I want to be by myself. I'm such a maniac. I got all these like, dark, bleak thoughts about like, oh, just I'm, the lowest and all that. But I thought, okay, well, no, I've got to discipline myself for that and stop being such a victim about it. So get up, exercise hard, cut back my food intake even more today. Almost like punishment, but not punishment. It actually helped me. It was like, disciplining myself, like, oh, okay, you're going to focus on your hunger now, and you're not going to focus on this other made up problem that you have. And went out, did my, normally Saturdays, I kind of do the same thing. I go wash my car, get groceries, check my mail, and finally got my insurance card, my health insurance card, so try and make a doctor's appointment, get a physical at some point. And again, still trying to lose this last 20 pounds, but trying to like do all that stuff and not feel bad for myself and not get in my own head. And here's the other thing I was thinking about screenwriting. Having depersonalization-derealization disorders helped me, and it hurts me with my screenwriting and in life. But as far as my screenwriting goes, I'm not going to explain what DPDR is. I've explained it a ton of times. Look at my documentary on this channel, Homeless with Depersonalization-Derealization Disorder. It's basically, it makes me almost like hallucinate, and it's very painful, and I can't think when I have it, and it's like I can't even function sometimes. I've been getting much better. Like the last few weeks and months, I've really been recovering. Once in a while I have a flare-up, but I'm really getting better. And I've learned, new ways of coping with it. And a big part of that is like being comfortable in my body, and, and using a body-based approach, as Jordan Hargrave would say, which is, for me, it's just often like some deep breathing and muscle, like tensing the muscles and then releasing them and exhaling like that, to like not run from the pain of it, but go right into it and be like, okay, come on in. Like I'm gonna like bring it in and then just release it. Whereas my strategy when I didn't know what this was for years was just, well, I couldn't do anything, and often I was making myself way more anxious. However, the thing is, even this last year and a half I've been trying his techniques, a lot of them just didn't do anything for me. They didn't help. So I consider myself almost lucky in a way that I seem to have DPDR worse than anyone I've ever seen, because it's so horrifically painful. I mean, I was full on like disabled in 2012 to 13. I couldn't even drive because I couldn't control like how I reacted to red lights and stuff. I knew I couldn't safely control a car because it's like I didn't have the ability to control my reflexes and my driving. I don't know how to describe, like, you would think, well, how could you not, you've been driving for years. How could you not all of a sudden be able to stop at red lights? I've read other people have had this problem when they get dissociative symptoms from meditation. And people, I've talked about that before on this channel, but they should be more forthcoming on the health risks of meditation. People go psychotic with it. They have all kinds of problems. And it turns out a big problem lots of people have is they get dissociative symptoms. So I'm like, well, screw that. I don't need that. Screw meditation. That's already caused me so many problems. Anyway, so it would just make me impair my ability to think, process emotions. I couldn't watch movies. I couldn't write. It was horrific. I couldn't make videos, especially in 2012 to 13. It was also horrific. I couldn't feel anything. I'm feeling all kinds of strains. And it gets 10 times worse than I can describe here. But I've talked about it in other videos. Really uncomfortable. And even doing these exercises for months now doesn't make me better, like, in a matter of days or weeks. It takes a long time for me to get better because it's so horrific. I don't understand how people with DPDR have said, like, their relationships suffered for it. I'm like, I can't be around anyone. Like, I cannot function. I cannot feel emotions for other people. When I have DPDR, I feel cut off from my own desires. I would like not eat much because it was hard to swallow food. It was hard to even, desire food because I was in so much pain and delirious and practically hallucinating. And anyways, it goes on. I could tell you 10 more things within the next 5 minutes, but I already said I wouldn't do that. But the thing about it is, it helped me understand, okay, you have to accept that pain, not push it away, which just makes it so much worse. Everything made it worse, really. There was no good way of dealing with it, but just accept it and almost just accept it. Yeah, that was it's like doing nothing, but it's also you look back and realize, oh, that's what I had to do, because it doesn't seem to help sometimes. Now it's much better, and now it's just kind of light symptoms here and there, but when it was really bad, this stuff didn't help at all. I'm sure maybe it did help in some way over time in the last year and a half that I've been recovering from my last relapse. But yeah, so many other things involved in that disorder. But anyways, the point is, it helped me, to push past pain thresholds and pain boundaries where I can't be tense, where I have to relax and loosen up. And by relax, I don't mean watch TV, enjoy stuff. Often it's the opposite of that. If I try and do that, I'll just get more tense. But it means sort of getting out of my head, being in my body, like just being well, being okay, and understanding that there's nothing wrong with going through that pain threshold. And actually, there's another parallel with writing. Like with writing, you can be afraid of this pain because it feels like fight or flight pain. Like, oh, I'm going to write something bad. It's going to be horrible. I'm going to hate myself for it. Same with DPDR. And the reality of both, supposedly, is neither can hurt you. Even DPDR, as horrifying as it was, and I thought I had brain damage. Like, I was in such bad shape. I was taking medications. Like, I was applying for disability in 2013. And I just thought, I don't know what's wrong with me. I thought, that's it. I'm going to be sick the rest of my life. But the reality is, it doesn't hurt you physically, even though it hurt like nothing else physically. It was easier to go through my car crash when my car was destroyed while I was sleeping in it than go through DPDR. But anyways, I still find myself catching myself tensing up and getting racing thoughts. I'm like, whoa, I got to stop this. I cannot let myself dissociate again. And, tense my muscles up like this and relax them. And, anyways, so that kind of helped me understand, probably gave me an advantage over a lot of people in this training, because I'm like, oh, I already know, like, I have to push through pain boundaries by doing the thing that you would think would make the pain worse, which is just going right into it, going straight to the pain. So in other words, like inviting it in and being like, okay, I'm going to go there and just go right through it. And, and every time it's like, oh, I think it's going to hurt me, and realizing it doesn't hurt me, can't hurt me. Maybe other disorders like can, but at least DPDR, what I mean by it can't hurt you, like, yes, it can. Like, it did things like when I was so stressed or whatever, like I had trouble eating and stuff. But I mean, as far as like the disorder itself will not, like, I don't know, cause physical effects, at least directly. Yes, the stress can and all that. But anyways, but like it itself, it's not like, I don't know, what would I describe? I can only compare it to like a more, like a physical, as opposed to whatever you'd call, I don't know what DPDR is categorized as or classified as, and it's not well studied or well known or anything, but is it a mental disorder? I don't really think so. Or I guess not, because it's like, supposedly it's based in the body's like fight flight response, but that is the brain. I don't know, whatever, I don't care. I mean, I care, but it's like I can't figure it out. But it's not like, say, diabetes, which very obviously, very real, can hurt you, or probably like untreated other mental disorders where you may hurt yourself and not be aware of it or something. Anyways, so yeah, it helped me have an understanding. So when I would see these exercises, I'm like, oh, I have a much better understanding of what I should do and why this is important. That's the big thing, than probably a lot of other people. I'm not saying that like it's better than anyone else's position. It's also good not to have DPDR too, not to go through all this. And I had to, it's like all this stuff I had to learn the hard way. But I'd rather learn it that way, in a way, than, so it's almost like disrespectful to people who go through hard stuff to be like, everything's great, everything's fun, it's easy, whatever. Like, I don't, that's not me. That's not my world. And so I'll always put myself through that, like push myself through stuff like this. But anyway, so that's what I'm saying, is it helped me push through these pain barriers. It also hurt because, yeah, I couldn't write for months. Because like this last bout of DPDR, I couldn't write for like 4 or 5 months. What do you mean I couldn't write? It was so absurdly painful to write. Like, it felt like I was burning away or something. I don't know how to describe it. It's really hard to describe the symptoms. Almost like being high on some horrible hallucinogen that causes you to feel physical pain. And I would have like, what's it called? Sleep paralysis for like a month after I relapsed, and all kinds of, and trouble sleeping, and it was just awful. Terrible trouble concentrating. Terrible, like, not being able to communicate well with others, where like I didn't want to get in conversations, and I would get extremely like manic and stuff, and like racing thoughts, and it just, I don't know, it was just bad. And I couldn't feel anything in a lot of ways. Like, I was just numb, but yet in pain. So those were the two things I felt. So anyways, it helped. And not only that, and homeless, same thing. Pushing through pain barriers, realize, oh, I'll be fine if I have to do this thing that I thought was going to be too much work. Be in my car in the heat, go to the bathroom in water bottles, shower in the street. Stuff I would have thought was unthinkable. I'm really glad I did. Because I realized, oh, it was the thought of how, the anticipation of it, that was so much worse than the actual experience. Years ago, if I had ever thought, oh, would I shower in the street with water bottles, I would have thought, hell no, that's going to be impossible. I can't do that. That's so unpleasant. And I was doing it for like how long did I do it in the pandemic? Before I started showering in the afternoon at a mission. March through November. So about 8 months, 7 months. I think about 7 months. I was showering with water bottles on the street every day, and did it like without thinking about it, and kind of liked it. Not kind of, I did like it. I also, it was also, not idea, but you can't think about it like that. So who cares? Get that out of there. That idea that, oh, I don't have the ability to do this. It's like, oh, okay, I can do that because I got more than the next person. I got more time. I'll get up earlier if I have to. I'll just do more than the next person. And that helps me so much better to understand what I have to do with screenwriting and a lot of things. And with my job too, which if I didn't spend time homeless, I would not be able to function at my job. The stress would overwhelm me of having all these tasks and having to multitask. And literally, it looks ridiculous sometimes what I'm doing, like on the phone, emailing, checking stuff that I'm, cataloging. Basically, it's like a film archive that I work in. So I'm like, going through film cans and stuff and other media, and like having to enter data on it and email and check paperwork and on the phone. It would be impossible. And then knowing I have 10 more things to do after that. But as it is, it's like, oh, I can just sort of just go right into it and be like, oh, this is actually good. It's good to go straight for that pain. And I don't respect anyone's mentality that says, oh, I don't want to do that. It's too much. I can't do that. Not necessarily that job, but like, oh, I don't want to do stuff like that. I'm like, well, get away from me. Get out of my life. But, I think a lot of people I know probably are like that, or they do want to work. And it's not something I would ever, bother anyone with. It's just like, oh, okay, that person's not for me. I don't want to be around them. And, I was like that too for the longest time. So who am I to judge? But anyways, I got to get right back to work now. My class is in a few hours, my last class. And actually, I started another class with Corey Mandel in a month. So I already signed up for that. Also, I've been talking to Moist Andy. Whoa, man, I was just talking to him before this video. He's recovering from his bike crash. He said he shattered his skull in like 5 places around his, I think, left eye. He broke his vertebrae in many places. He damaged nerves and stuff, or almost damaged nerves. He said he came very close to being paralyzed in parts of his body, and he's very lucky he didn't. And only one nerve got paralyzed that like goes down his face to his lip or something. So he's basically, he managed to come out of this with bad injuries, and yet it looks like he'll make pretty much a full recovery. And he said he's not going to ride a bike for a while, can't drive, can't work for a while. I'm like, good. Take even longer than you need. Moist Andy, I'm telling you this. If you have 2 months off from work, that's just the minimum you need, that's mandated by the government. You probably need 5 months or so. I don't know. I can't say that. I'm not a doctor. What do I know? But When I had my car crash, my ribs, my ribs were bruised. Sounds like a Stephen Brule thing. He would say, "My ribs are bruised, are bruised." My ribs were bruised, and I had some other bruising on my body. My left leg was hit, and kind of hurt. I needed a chiropractor to work on that too. It was a month before I could lift stuff without pain and without re-injuring myself, just for bruised ribs and a bruised leg, and I don't know whatever else was bruised on me. So if you have a broken vertebrae and jaw and fracture in your skull and stuff, I'm just urging you, because I know, you're probably just eager to get right back to life. And I know how it is, because that's how I am after stuff where it's like, oh, I need to actually take longer to recover. But do take your time. And when you think you're ready to go back to work or whatever, or ride a bike, reassess whether you're ready, and then probably wait longer. You'll just get better. You'll just build more character. Look through what I've been talking to this whole time. I'm going through pain thresholds. This may make you even better. Maybe like a wake-up call to do more than the next person. So recover even better than the next person would. Because think about it, some scrub, some schmuck would try and get back to his activities too quickly. You, Moist Andy, and everyone, I want you to encourage him. Take your time. We don't want you to get back on your bike too soon. I know he said he's not riding his bike anytime soon, but even well after you think, oh, okay, it's long enough, maybe wait another month. Really recover. Really get into it. Ease your way into it. And then you will know when you're well into recovery. So make sure you do that, and make lots of videos. That's what else are you going to do? You can't really do much right now, but I'm so glad he's recovering. And it looks like he's in a position to make pretty much a full recovery after he had a horrible bike crash. So anyways, I got to get back to writing. Thanks, everyone.